Here's another useless video that none of you asked for on my YouTube channel. What's good, YouTube? It's Jay here, and today we're going to be making a Star Wars games tier list. I don't know what it's going to look like by the end of 2020, but we are on the bridge of 1,200 subscribers, so if you're new here, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. It all helps me in the long run. Trying to make full-time YouTubing and streaming my dream. I'm trying to make it all come true. So if you're ever feeling it, I really do appreciate your support. Thank you for all the support, everybody. Let's get right into the video. So before, one of the things you're going to notice with this listing is actually missing a few of the classic Star Wars games, I think. I'm not seeing Empire War on this list anywhere for some reason. So this listing is already kind of bogus. Oh wait, no, I see it. It's right here. It's not using the Forces of Corruption icon for some reason, but we'll count Empire War as both. Actually, no. We'll count Empire War as Forces of Corruption purely for the aspect that Forces of Corruption long-term receive more modding support and whatnot. We're not really going to consider the original Empire War because it just didn't last that long. When the expansion came out, that's literally the only game anybody plays now. First off, we've got Star Wars Battlefront. I'm going to put this at the A tier. I don't think it's an S tier level just purely because it was a great game for its time, but once Battlefront 2 came out, it really kind of showed what kind of content was missing from the original Battlefront, like space battles and playable heroes. Granted, I will say this, I do love some of the combat elements of the original Battlefront, like having starfighters on land, and some of the maps like Cloud City or Bespin. All those maps were actually really phenomenal in my opinion. But other than that, the original Battlefront 2 kind of overshadows it a little bit. I think I'm gonna just leave it at the A tier. I don't really think there are too many D tier Star Wars games on here aside from Battlefront 2, the new one. I'm gonna put anything that I never actually got a chance to play on the D tier purely because we don't have an option for a, didn't play area. So we're gonna just kind of put anything. I'm gonna specify if it's something that I actually think is a bad game. But other than that, anything I've never played before, which is very few from this listing, we're gonna put it on the D tier scale. Okay. Next up, we got Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I never actually got a chance to play that game, unfortunately, so I'm going to put that at the D tier. I'm actually considering doing a Let's Play of it in the future. We'll see how that goes. Star Wars The Complete Saga. This is a tough one. I've played all the separate Star Wars games that I actually do own the Complete Saga. I played all the separate Lego Star Wars games. I'm going to put this at the S tier. It's a Lego Star Wars game. It's hard to hate it. I'm counting my experiences with the original trilogy game and the original prequels Lego Star Wars game. I never actually fully played the Complete Saga, but considering it's just a culmination of both of those two games pretty much, I'm gonna put it in the S tier because I loved absolutely the heck out of both. Next we got Star Wars Empire War. Do I really do I even have to explain why? Empire War is one of the most long-living Star Wars games in human history. It's literally the longest living Star Wars game, and granted Battlefront 2 does have a pretty amazing and big modding community. I still think the Empire War community just is a little bit bigger in terms of modding. We've got so many projects like Rebellion, Empire War Remake, Avant-Garde War, Thrawn's Revenge. We've got so many amazing mods in different Discord communities and forums and so forth that just absolutely love this game. So S tier, Empire War, Forces of Corruption, easily S tier. Star Wars Episode 3. I'm conflicted on this game. I want to say B to A because, we're going to put it A tier. Super fun. It was a little stiff here and there, but the combat system in this game was very enjoyable. I think the missions were very enjoyable. They really expanded upon the visuals of what we never really got to see in the movies. And obviously some of these missions were super convoluted for gameplay purposes, without a doubt. Obviously from the in-game cutscenes, not even remotely matching movie cutscenes or things that actually happened in the movie. It's all a little bit convoluted, but either way, I think this game was phenomenal. I really had a good time playing it as a kid. Nothing bad to complain about it. I will put Star Wars Rebel Strike, I think, at B tier. I actually really didn't have too much of a problem with the ground battles in the game. The space missions were still some of my favorite. The Rogue Squadron games are just, oh my god, they are the best of the best when it comes to flight sims. I do like Squadrons, but something about that classic Rogue Squadron, it just stands out. The missions were fun. We got a lot of different side stories, got introduced and expanded upon a lot of new and old characters. It was just a great game. Again, the ground battles kind of took some points off for it. They were interesting to say the least, and I honestly really didn't have too much of an issue. If I had a choice of like B plus and A minus. I would put it kind of really. I really didn't have too much of a problem with those levels. I'm gonna put Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 at the A tier. I didn't want to put it in the S tier. I don't think, purely because it's a little weird of a game. Some of the story without the content or the content expanded mod that actually really pulls all the game together, it's a little all over the place, but I still think it's a great game. Combat's a great, story still very enjoyable. The customization, the way you can create your characters, one of the best Star Wars games you've ever played. If you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic 2, you are missing out. Star Wars Battlefront, see, that game was not great, really. It had a terrible release. The amount of content in it was just lacking. It just was not a great game. It just gave up on it kind of early. I'm gonna put Star Wars Rogue Squadron as a A-tier game. I didn't personally really get a chance to play through it, but I've watched thousands of Let's Plays on it. Let me clarify one thing. Anything in D tier I haven't played. I'm also gonna include things I haven't watched playthroughs. I have watched like 1,000 different Rogue Squadron playthroughs. Phenomenal game. It's just super enjoyable. Obviously the missions are a little convoluted here and there, but that's really with any flight sim game. But again, it's a phenomenal game. It's dated by today's standards in terms of visual quality and might be a little clunky as far as gameplay goes, but either way, just being able to play as Wedge and Luke and a bunch of other members of Rogue Squadron, do all these crazy fun missions. Force Unleashed 2, I hate to say it, I'm gonna put this in the C tier purely because I thought the campaign was way too short and the gameplay was kind of limited compared to original Force Unleashed, which I was a big fan of. There were just a lot of lacking things in the game. I don't know. It's hard to say, really. It had some pretty cool customization options. You could play as a bunch of different characters. Nothing compared to what you could do with the Force Unleashed, though, which we'll get into that one in a second, but the Force Unleashed 2 was just kind of lacking. I thought the visuals were phenomenal. The Battle of Camino is still to this day one of my favorite battles, but overall it was lacking. It needed a longer story. It needed more abilities. It needed more planets you could go. It needed more. It was like a 5-hour campaign. You could knock it out in an afternoon. It wasn't a very long game. You guys are gonna hate me. I think this game is almost completely godly. It's a little clunky from gameplay mechanics, but I think with the amount of expansion in its customization for force abilities, lightsabers, outfits, story, I honestly thought was really darn good. I know a lot of you are like, well, Jamond or Jay. Oh, I probably shouldn't say my government name. Jay, he beat Darth Vader. He almost beat the Emperor. Listen, hear me out, okay? You know how many people have almost killed Darth Vader in so many different instances? You know how many people have thought they were close to killing Vader or the Emperor, but they were just quote unquote toying with them? Listen, man, it was all for gameplay perspective. It was all for gameplay reasons that we got to see a lot of the crazy stuff in the Force Unleashed did. All the crazy powers, all the crazy saber abilities. Realistically speaking, if they were to ever make a Force Unleashed movie, we probably wouldn't really see all of what we saw in this game. It was just a raw Star Wars lightsaber arena force simulator. It wasn't really meant to emulate what a Force user could truly be, because it would just, at that point, it'd just be ridiculous. Like, why even have Vader and the Emperor? A lot of what you got to play with in the game was just for gameplay purposes. Let's all calm down for a hot second and stop thinking Starkiller is just so overpowered. Look, everybody's overpowered in every video game. That's just how video games are. It was just a lot of gameplay stuff. I will say again, I know it probably is a little convoluted. He beat the hell out of Darth Vader, but let's think about it again. Darth Vader's been killed almost how many times now in both the old and the new canon? Let's be realistic. A lot of people still don't realize to this day that the scenes where you actually get to kill Darth Vader as Starkiller are all non-canon, even to the expanded universe. They're all Star Wars Infinity universes, just different things, different scenarios that could have happened. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I don't need to explain this. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is probably the most legendary Star Wars game to ever exist. While Empire War might be one of the most long-term supported games in terms of modding community and whatnot, and Battlefront 2 is as well, Battlefront 2 is literally loved by anybody that's touched it. You don't have to be for hardcore strategy loving, you don't have to be a lunatic like me. Battlefront 2 is loved by the casuals, by hardcore Star Wars fans, softcore Star Wars fans. It's the best Star Wars game probably to ever come out in human existence. the gameplay mechanics to the story mode to the modding support, literally the best Star Wars game to have ever existed in my opinion. You know what, we're gonna put this in D tier because I cannot see the actual title. Lego Star Wars 3. Thought it was a great game. I still have a bit of a more love for the complete saga, but for at its time a modernized Lego Star Wars game, I thought it was great. I was a big fan of the Clone Wars. I was a big fan of Lego Star Wars, and I really thought the amount of diversity in the missions, the gameplay mechanics, it was just a great game all around. Really nothing bad about it. I never got to play Shadows of the Empire. Prince Caesar is also in this game. Caesar. Dark Forces. From a gameplay perspective, I'm going to put it in a B spot, but from a story perspective, Kyle Katarn is literally my favorite Star Wars character next to Darth Revan. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This game is just godly. But one of the best RPG style Star Wars games you ever get to experience. Never played it, you are literally missing out on one of the pinnacle moments in gaming. Battlefront 2, I'm going to put Star Wars The Clone Wars in the... I'm going to put it in the B tier for the repetitiveness kind of the mission. Great game overall, great missions, fun mechanics. I mean, really can't complain too much. Republic Commando, S tier. One of the funnest control style. It's a great game. It's one of the best Star Wars FPS games we've ever gotten. One of the best FPS games in general. Obviously inspired by things like Halo and early versions of Call of Duty and whatnot, which is not a bad thing, obviously. Star Wars Rogue Leader. Now, I know I've got Rebel Strike in the beat spot, but Rogue Leader is just 10 out of 10. While the missions could arguably fall into the same amount of repetitiveness as the Clone Wars game here, the atmosphere, the number of worlds you get to explore, the number of different missions that you ultimately do have to do outweigh the number that you do in Clone Wars. It's just, it's a phenomenal game. Star Wars Mysteries of the Sith, I actually unfortunately never played that. Star Wars, this Disney Connect, I don't even want to acknowledge that it's in existence. I believe this is Star Wars Lightsaber Force Master. I can't really read the note. I didn't get to play this game. Jedi Knight is this, yeah, this is Outcast. I am so tough. I'm so stuck on this. I'm throwing it in an A tier, honestly. Same with Jedi Knight Academy. You can criticize me all you want for this selection. Jedi Knight Academy, next to Battlefront 2 and Empire at War, one of the most long-term mod-supported games in Star Wars history. I don't know how big the modding community is, unfortunately. For very old game. I believe this game is even older than both of these two. Look, it might have came out actually around the same time. Jedi Knight Academy, amazing game. Story was pretty entertaining. Jedi Outcast, in my opinion, has one of the best stories and one of the most complicated puzzle systems in any Star Wars game ever. The puzzle system in this game is rage-inducing at times, but I think that's really a part of the charm. There's so much discovery, searching you gotta do, so many buttons that are hard to see because they're literally JPEGs on a wall, kind of blended with the rest of the environment. Game's amazing. I didn't get to play the Star Wars Obi-Wan game. This is the Super Nintendo Star Wars game. Again, this was in an era where I was literally not even born. I'm old. I'm young old. I'm only 24. Star Wars Jedi Power Battle on the original PlayStation. I actually didn't know about Star Wars on the original PlayStation. Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Again, I'm gonna, well, from a visual standpoint, I'm gonna up this game to an A tier. The story is great. Again, Kyle Katarn, favorite Star Wars character ever. Post Endor era, you didn't really get too much of that kind of stuff in the early years of Star Wars games, really. So this is one of the first steps into the New Republic era and Dark Jedi and learning about all that kind of stuff, aside from just like books and whatnot. It's an amazing game. Got Star Wars Starfighter. I'm gonna put that in the B tier purely for all the bombing missions you had to do that were absolutely just unbearable when you're fighting against 10,000 Vulture droids as one guy. I had a lot of fun playing the game, won't be replaying it. I never got to play the Power Racer game, but I've heard literally everybody say this game is phenomenal. So I'm gonna leave that up to your interpretation in the comment section. Star Wars X-Wing versus TIE Fighters. Oh wait, is this just Star Wars TIE Fighter? This is Star Wars TIE Fighter. I'm an idiot. Well, I'm sticking with it. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I'm gonna throw it in A. I'm gonna throw it in A tier. I watched 1,001 different Let's Plays on this one too. Great game, similar to the other two, X-Wing Alliance and X-Wing and TIE Fighter. great game overall. I really can't complain too much. The early era of Star Wars flight sims was just amazing. It was an amazing time to be alive, really. All these games were really darn fun. The controls were very straightforward. Yeah, had a bit of complexity to them to some degree, at least with the TIE Fighter and X-Wing games. Rogue Squadron games, not so much. They were pretty straightforward. If you had a controller, you just speed boost, you could fire missiles, and you could shoot your guns. And that was about it. There really wasn't any management system. But in terms of raw gameplay, all these games, while they were uniquely different from one another in their own ways, they were all still phenomenal. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. If you have a Star Wars games tier list, I want you to share me in the comments below. What's your favorite Star Wars games? How would you rank them according to the listing here? I'll leave this link for this particular tier maker in the description below. But let me know how would you rank all of these amazing Star Wars titles that have come out over the last 3-4 decades, maybe. We've had a lot of Star Wars games since the 90s. So I mean, I want to find a more complete list because I think we're still missing a few titles here. We're missing X-Wing Alliance, Forces of Corruption as a standalone title, and we actually don't have any of the actual other modern Star Wars games like Fallen Order, which is kind of weird considering we've got Battlefront 2. But maybe this is a bit of an older list, maybe as far back as 2017, considering we've got the new Battlefront 2 on here. That's gonna be it for this, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more Star Wars and other gaming content. I told you guys I want to expand the kind of content that I do. I like making different kinds of videos, man. So like I said, if you enjoyed this, leave a like on it. Sub to the channel because most of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed to it. As always, I'll see you in the next video.
Picking up the pieces that I lost in the lobby. I put you against the wall, you had us body to body. I can't help the way you make me feel, it's so hard to copy. Let's find common ground, meet me in the lost and found. Yeah, dark days turning into dark nights. I hit the strip and spend it all, I'm having hard times. I reminiscing at me looking through the archives. I seen a picture of you looking like a star shines, and you bright, 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 like the lights on a fight night.